Imagine having like a highly sensitive antenna, one that's just perfectly calibrated to pick up every subtle, nuanced signal from your subconscious mind.
Right.
That is essentially what your tarot deck is. Now imagine plugging that antenna into a high-powered amplifier to completely eliminate the background static.
Oh, I love that image.
Right. And that is exactly what happens when you introduce crystal energy into a reading. So today, on the deep dive, we're exploring the fascinating intersection of these two ancient practices.
It really is the perfect analogy.
Sure.
And I think it sets up our mission for today perfectly.
Yeah.
Because if you're listening to this, you likely already have some familiarity with tarot or crystal work,
Mm-hmm.
You know your major arcana, you know your basic suits.
Right. We're not starting from scratch here.
Exactly. We're going to sit here and give you a beginner's dictionary of rocks and cards. Instead, we're going to decode exactly how and why combining these two specific tools creates like a profound shortcut to better intuition.
Which is something I think everyone could use a little more of.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to break down how they clarify decision-making and help you cut through your own mental noise, without you feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of esoteric information out there.
Okay, let's unpack this right out at the gate. Because I'm looking at this concept, and I have a very practical question.
Sure.
Aren't tarot cards powerful enough on their own? I mean, people have used them for centuries to gain incredibly deep insights.
That's very true.
So why do we actually need to add a completely separate modality crystals, in this case, into the mix? Is this a situation where a crystal fixes a broken reading, or what is actually happening here?
Well, it's not really about fixing something that's broken. It's much more about cutting through modern interference.
Okay, modern interference. What do you mean by that?
Think about the state of mind you're usually in when you sit down to do a reading. You don't usually pull cards when everything is going perfectly and your mind is completely at peace, right?
Right, definitely not. Usually I'm kind of frantic.
Exactly. You pull cards when you're stressed. Let's say you're trying to decide whether to quit your job. You sit down with your deck, but your brain is screaming about your mortgage or that email you forgot to send and your boss's attitude.
Yeah, your mind is just jumping in 10 different directions, so the cards just look like a random jumble of scary pictures.
Right. The tarot provides the visual messages, the archetypes in the story, but if your mind is cluttered, you literally can't read the story.
So the crystals come in to clear the clutter.
Exactly. Crystals provide the energetic focus to solve that exact problem. They act as a somatic anchor.
A somatic anchor. That makes sense.
Yeah, by introducing a crystal, you're creating a sort of sacred space.
Yeah.
It's a literal and psychological protective barrier around yourself and the cards. The crystal filters out that screaming anxiety about the mortgage, allowing you to feel secure enough to actually open up and receive the insight the cards are offering.
Okay, so the crystal's an amplifier, and it's a filter. But, if I plug a bass guitar into an amp that's calibrated for a vocal microphone, it sounds terrible.
Oh, for sure.
Does that mean if I use the wrong crystal for a specific reading, I can actually mess up the interpretation?
You absolutely can muddle the interpretation. You can't just grab a piece of gravel from the driveway and expect sudden clarity on your career path.
Right, yeah. It's kind of like assembling a highly specialized team for a complex project, or like a heist.
A heist. I like that.
Yeah. You wouldn't hire a getaway driver to crack a safe. You need the specific skill set for the specific problem you're trying to solve. So how do we choose the right frequency?
Well, we have to look at the specific skill sets of what we can call our cast of characters. Let's start with the baseline clear chords.
The classic.
Exactly. It's the ultimate programmable amplifier. If you don't have a specific emotional block, but you just need general clarity and intense focus to see a situation for what it really is, clear quartz is your go-to tool.
Makes sense. It's like turning on the overhead lights.
Right. But let's say your problem isn't just focus. Let's say you feel completely disconnected from your gut instinct.
Oh, like when you're paralyzed by overanalysis.
Yes. In that case, you bring in amethyst. This is the intuition booster. Amethyst operates on a frequency that connects to your higher self.
Okay, so amethyst is for when you're stuck in your head.
Precisely. It's the stone you use when you need to stop overthinking the logistics and completely open your mind to the possibilities you haven't considered yet.
That's super helpful. But what if the reading isn't about figuring out what to do, but actually finding the energy to do it?
Ah, that's a different energy entirely.
Yeah, let's go back to that scenario of quitting your job. You know you need to leave, but you are just terrified of the financial instability.
That is exactly when you call in the manifestor's citrine.
Citrine. Okay.
Yeah, you use citrine when you are trying to make something happen in the physical world. It's for attracting abundance, drawing in prosperity, and crucially, staying motivated through a difficult transition.
So citrine is essentially the project manager of your crystal team.
I love that. Yes, exactly.
And then on the flip side of that highly active energy, we have the emotional side, right? Rose quartz, the heart healer.
Right. Rose quartz is fundamentally about compassion. You bring this to a reading when you need to open yourself up to love.
Whether that's attracting positive relationships or something else.
Yeah, or very often forcing yourself to look at a painful situation with self-compassion rather than harsh self-criticism.
That is so important. And then, of course, every good heist team needs a bodyguard.
Always.
That is where stones like smoky quartz, black tourmaline, and obsidian come in.
The protectors. These are your grounding stones. If you're doing a reading about a highly toxic situation, maybe a manipulative relationship or a deeply hostile work environment.
You need some defense.
Exactly. You bring in obsidian or tourmaline to actively block those negative influences from clouding your judgment during the reading.
What's really fascinating to me here is that you don't actually have to memorize a geology textbook to start utilizing this.
No, not at all.
There's an incredible visual shorthand built right into these stones. Color psychology plays a massive role.
It really does.
Like, look at the pattern of the team we just built. The light, translucent colors, the clear quartz, the pale purple of amethyst, the soft pink of rose quartz. Those align with guidance, clarity, and opening yourself up.
Right.
But the dark, opaque colors, the pitch black of tourmaline, the dense brown of smoky quartz, those align with strength, stability, and creating a shield.
It is a highly intuitive visual system. Light colors act like a spotlight. Dark colors act like a lead shield.
Okay, so we have assembled our specialized team, but just having the right tools isn't enough if they're completely compromised.
Definitely not.
Like we said earlier, you wouldn't use a dirty lens on a microscope because it would ruin the image you're trying to look at. Which brings us to a really crucial part of this practice preparation.
Preparation is entirely non-negotiable. Before these tools can work together, they have to be primed.
Wait, hold on. I get washing a dirty lens. I get washing my hands. But a rock doesn't get physically dirty just from me having a stressful week, you know?
Fair point.
How does the transfer of energy actually work here? Are we talking about literal physics, or is this a purely psychological reset for the reader? Because there's a very clear distinction made in the sources between cleansing a crystal and activating it.
It's a brilliant question, and it's actually a bit of both. Let's look at the mechanism of cleansing first. Crystals are defined by their incredibly stable, repeating molecular structures.
Okay.
Because of that stability, they're thought to hold on to the energetic frequencies they're exposed to. But even from a purely psychological standpoint, think about somatic memory.
Somatic memory.
Yeah, if you hold a piece of rose quartz every time you cry over a bad breakup, your brain associates that physical object with grief.
Oh, wow. So the next time I pick it up to do a reading about my future, I'm accidentally triggering my own grief response.
Exactly. You're holding a physical trigger for your past anxiety. Cleansing is the mechanical process of breaking that loop. It's hitting the factory reset button so the stone becomes a neutral vessel again.
And how do practitioners actually execute that reset?
There are three main methods. The first is smudging, which involves passing the crystal through the smoke of burning herbs like sage or palo santo.
Right, the smoke acts as a clearing agent.
Yeah. The second is sound cleansing. This is literally using the vibration of a ringing bell, a tuning fork, or a singing bowl near the crystal to physically shake the stagnant energy loose.
That makes total sense with the molecular structure thing.
Right. And the third is water submerging the stone in a bowl of salt water or letting it sit under a running stream to wash the energetic residue away.
Okay, so now I have a clean, empty vessel. It's totally neutral. It's not holding my anxiety, but it's not holding my intention either. That's where activation comes in, right?
Correct. Activating is waking the stone up and giving it a job. You've cleared the old data. Now you have to program it to be receptive to your specific intentions for the reading you're about to do.
I have to ask, how do you wake a rock up? Do you, give it a tiny cup of coffee?
In a spiritual sense, yes. Sunlight is the cosmic coffee for crystals.
Cosmic coffee.
Leaving a stone in direct sunlight for a few hours allows it to absorb that highly active, vibrant, life-giving energy. But the more immediate, practical method is visualization.
Okay, how does that work?
You sit with the cleansed crystal in your hand. You picture a bright, clear light filling it, and you intensely focus your specific intention into the stone. You are literally saying, your job today is to help me see the truth about my career.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, because now we have our deck. We have our chosen, cleansed, and activated crystal team.
Yes.
How do we physically put them together? We aren't just tossing a handful of rocks onto a table of cards and hoping for the best, right?
No, the physical integration is a very deliberate choreography.
It reminds me of setting up a spiritual perimeter or a highly specific grid to lock the focus of the room into place. How does this actually look in practice?
Well, it happens in 3 distinct stages. The first is pre-reading. Before you even touch the cards to shuffle them, you place your activated crystal directly on top of the closed deck.
So it's like a primer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It acts as a primer. It allows the crystal's energy to permeate the physical cards while simultaneously signaling to your brain that the mundane part of your day is over and the intuitive work is beginning.
And then, during the shuffle itself, you hold the crystal in your receiving hand while you are mixing the cards with the other.
Right.
I found this fascinating. You're acting as the physical conduit between the crystal's amplified energy and the deck. You're literally pulling the focus through your own body into the cards.
It creates a closed, unbreakable loop of intention. But the most powerful application happens during the spread itself.
Right, when the cards are actually on the table.
Yes. Once the cards are laid out, you can place specific crystals directly on top of specific cards to radically alter or draw out their meaning.
Okay, let's walk through what this actually looks like. Let's go back to our listener who is trying to decide whether to quit their toxic job. Let's say they do a simple 3-card spread: situation, action, outcome.
A classic spread.
They flip the first card, the situation, and it's the 8 of Swords. Now, we know the 8 of Swords is all about feeling trapped, bound, and blindfolded by your own anxiety.
Very heavy, chaotic card.
Right. So if I'm staring at the 8 of Swords and I am already stressed about my job, my instinct is to panic. But what happens if I take black tourmaline, our ultimate grounding protective stone, and I place it directly on top of that 8 of Swords?
You completely change the dynamic of the reading. By placing the tourmaline there, you aren't just acknowledging the anxiety, you're actively neutralizing it. Yeah, the stone acts as a literal weight, pinning the anxiety down to the table. It allows you to look at the 8 of Swords objectively, saying, okay, I see the trap, but I am protected from the panic. It gives you the breathing room to actually analyze the problem rather than just feeling it.
That is brilliant. Okay, so then they flip the second card, the action card. Let's say it's the 2 of Wands. It's a card of planning, looking at the horizon, making a choice.
For that, you want pure, unadulterated focus. You would take your clear quartz and place it right on the 2 of Wands.
The overhead light.
Exactly. You're telling your subconscious, amplify this planning phase, clear away the self-doubt, and show me the actual logical steps I need to take.
And finally, the outcome card. They flip the Chariot. Victory, forward momentum, taking control of the reins and leaving the bad situation behind.
That is when you bring in the citrine. You place the manifestor stone on the Chariot to supercharge that momentum. You are bridging the energy of the card with the energy of the stone to give yourself the confidence to actually hand in your resignation letter tomorrow.
You're matching the vibe of the crystal to the intrinsic message of the card to amplify it. But what if you purposefully contrast it? What if, instead of tourmaline, I put rose quartz on the 8 of Swords?
See, that is where the nuance of this practice really shines. The 8 of Swords is a harsh, intellectual trap. Rose quartz is pure emotional compassion.
So they're total opposites.
Right. If you put rose quartz on that card, you are forcing yourself to look at your self-imposed trap through a lens of extreme self-forgiveness. It changes the message from, look how stuck you are, to be gentle with yourself. It's okay that you feel stuck right now.
It makes the reading so much more dynamic. It goes from being a flat piece of paper with a fixed definition to having this, topographical shifting energy.
It really does.
But the physical placement, putting the rock on the card, that's really just the surface layer. Because beneath all of this is a deeper symbolic architecture. The very DNA of the tarot deck perfectly mirrors the fundamental properties of the crystals.
It's a highly structured, almost mathematical, symbolic map.
Break that down for us. Since we know the tarot is divided into specific suits and elements, how does a crystal map onto that architecture?
Let's look at the elements first. The minor arcana is built entirely on earth, air, fire, and water. Crystals align exactly with this framework.
Okay.
If you're dealing with the suit of wands, which is fire, passion, creativity, and explosive action, you map that directly to fire-lying stones like carnelian or sunstone.
And if we're looking at the suit of cups?
Cups are water. They deal with deep emotion, intuition, and relationships. So a water-aligned stone, like rose quartz or aquamarine, naturally and effortlessly maps to any cups card.
What about the suit of swords? We know swords deal with intellect, communication, and very often conflict and harsh truths. That's air.
For swords, you map stones that promote absolute mental clarity and truth-telling. Lapis lazuli or clear quartz.
And then the earth suit.
Right. Finally, for the suit of pentacles earth, which governs money, health, and physical resources, you map deeply grounding stones like malachite or jade.
And this mapping extends to the major arcana as well, right? The big archetypes.
Absolutely. The system links the magician card, which is all about taking your tools and creating real-world results directly to manifestation crystals, like citrine.
Makes sense.
Conversely, it links the high priestess, who is the ultimate symbol of looking inward and trusting your gut to stones of deep spiritual connection, like amethyst.
So we have this perfect map. The suits match the elements match the stones. But for you listening right now, how do you actually use this map to get an answer when you are stuck?
Right, the practical application.
Exactly. There's a very specific meditative technique that bridges all of this together, centered around accessing the third eye.
Yes, the third eye being the center of psychic awareness and deep intuition, located just above the brow. The mechanism here isn't just staring at the card and hoping for an epiphany. It is a highly active somatic process.
Walk us through the physical mechanism of that.
Let's say you pull the high priestess, and you know you need to listen to your intuition about this job, but you're totally blocked. You take your corresponding crystal, your amethyst.
Okay.
You sit quietly and hold it in your receiving hand. You close your eyes, and you focus entirely on your breath.
You're using the physical sensation of holding the stone to interrupt your brain's normal looping anxiety.
Precisely. As you breathe in, you visualize the specific frequency of the amethyst entering your body, traveling up, and connecting directly with your third eye. You are literally breathing the crystal's energy into your center of intuition.
Wow.
And then as you breathe out, you imagine that energy radiating outward, clearing away the mental fog.
So it's a breathwork exercise that uses the crystal as a physical and mental anchor.
And once you have established that rhythm, that is when you ask your question. You don't ask the guidebook. You ask your higher self, through the clarified lens of the crystal, what you need to know about the high priestess in the context of your job.
And then, and this is where the actual real-world value happens, you sit quietly, you listen to whatever thoughts or images immediately rise to the surface of your mind, and you write them down. You journal it.
Journaling is the final crucial step. It is how you ground esoteric spiritual insight into tangible physical reality.
Huh.
By doing this process, you aren't relying on someone else's interpretation of a piece of cardboard. You are actively utilizing a system to connect with your own subconscious.
So what does this all mean? We've covered a massive amount of ground today on this deep dive.
We really have.
From utilizing crystals as specialized filters for our modern anxiety, to cleansing somatic triggers, to building real-time 3-card grids that change how we process fear and planning.
Yeah.
And I think the core value for you, the listener, is this. Combining crystals and tarot is not about mystical aesthetics. It is a highly structured, incredibly customizable technology. It's a set of precise tools designed specifically to help you cut through the daily noise, stop overthinking, and ultimately make much more informed, clear-headed decisions in your actual life.
It is a practical, physical framework for accessing your own intuition. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to explore on your own.
Oh, I'm ready.
We have just spent all this time detailing how the frequencies of crystals amplify the ancient archetypes of the cards. But it raises a profound question about the nature of this practice.
What is that?
What if the crystals and the cards aren't actually holding any magic at all? What if they're simply acting as a tangible physical mirror reflecting the immense, untapped wisdom that already exists entirely within you?
That is a brilliant place to leave it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.